on. Another team that we're high on is the Louisville Cardinals going into next year with a 9-4 record. And you see the guy on the left not wearing a Louisville uniform. They brought in one of the top transfer quarterbacks in Miller Moss, who we think is a perfect fit for the offense that Brohm runs down there in Louisville. So why do we love the Cardinals going to next year?
I think it starts there. It starts with getting Miller Moss and then Isaac Brown in the backfield, who was fantastic last year at running back as a freshman. Now they do need to figure out, who's going to be the top weapon here. You lose the receiver from Alabama. Why is his name?
Ja'Cory Brooks.
Ja'Cory Brooks. Thank you. I was losing his name. We go through so many names, I lose him for a second there. But you get Chris Bell coming back. You get Colin Lacey coming back. Isaac Brown in the backfield. And I just think about the magic that Jeff Brohm has worked with so many quarterbacks, right? When you even going back to his Western Kentucky days with guys like Mike White, Aiden O'Connell at Purdue, Tyler Shuck last year, who some think is the sleeper quarterback in this year's NFL draft. But Miller Moss, I would argue, is more talented than all of them, or at least, if not more talented than maybe a former five-star guy like Shuck. He just got such a heady way of playing. He knows where to go with the football. He's very accurate when he can set his feet in the pocket. I think Moss is a perfect fit for this offense. They need to find some pieces on defense, especially in the back end. The secondary disappointed me this past year. I think another team, kind of like Miami, kind of like Florida, I've talked about, can't give up so many big plays in the secondary. I think that's really what cost them from being in the ACC title conversation last year, was too many big plays allowed in the secondary. But I think there's high potential for this offense with the backfield of Miller Moss and Isaac Brown leading the way.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, he made Tyler Shuck look like a potential. He has some people convinced that Tyler Shuck's going to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. So if you could do that.
Oh, Jeff Brohm is the quarterback whisperer that nobody talks about enough in college football. All his quarterbacks get drafted, and they're not guys you would, again, Mike White, and he's actually had a decent NFL career, Aiden O'Connell and what he's done with the Raiders, and I think Miller Moss is right on that track, and I think even more ready to operate this offense than those guys were.
Exactly. I mean, if you told me and you that Tyler Shuck was going to be a projected second-round pick maybe in the NFL draft, we would have laughed in your face. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Was he like 10th or 12th somewhere in passing grade last year?
Yeah.
I mean, to take a guy like that who had the career he had, I mean, and you look at Miller Moss, we even thought with Miller Moss at USC, we still didn't really know why he was benched. I don't know if anybody knows that at this point. USC's going to roll with Jaden Maiava, but Miller Moss, Louisville, if he's going to keep bringing in transfer quarterbacks and doing this, even Jack Plummer first, right? Jack Plummer, he had a really good season. They made the ACC title game with Jack Plummer. And then last year, Tyler Shuck was a top 12 quarterback in the country. I mean, what he could do with Miller Moss, especially with the run game and Isaac Brown and everything around him, there's a high potential. And the ACC is not the thickest conference by any means. Like, I could sit here and say confidently Louisville right now is a top 4 team in the SEC.
Yeah, I think it's
ACC.
Yeah, I think at least a top 4 team. Yeah, I mean, they're right. SMU, I think they're an argument with. Yeah, they're definitely top 4 of Miami too. But they're a good team, man. And you look at what Miller Moss was last year. He still had like over a 70 passing grade, 76.5 passing grade. That was top 40 in the country. And it was not a great situation at USC that last year. I'll tell you that much right now. The offensive line was not good at all at USC. The receiving core was wildly disappointing. I mean, there were guys that we thought were going to have massive breakout years, like Zachariah Branch. Just never happened with him. So it wasn't a great situation at USC last year, and he still was one of the top 40 graded passers in the country. And like you said, going into a situation now in Jeff Brohm's offense where you look at what kind of quarterback he is, Miller Moss is a very heady quarterback. We actually interviewed Miller Moss. If you want to check out the interview on our channel during the season last year, and he's just a very smart and intelligent quarterback. I think Jeff Brohm's going to love this guy. He is going to be hand in hand with him in the offense next year. And then not only him, man, you got Isaac Brown coming back, my number 2 running back in college football, only behind Jeremiah Love. Isaac Brown had 1,168 rushing yards last year, the most of any returning running back in the Power 4, and he led the Power 4 with 7.2 yards per carry. Not returning running backs in the Power 4, all Power 4 running backs with 7.2 yards per carry. So by all accounts, one of the best running backs in America is Isaac Brown. And then you got guys on they lose a lot on that defense. Like obviously Ashton Gelati is probably the biggest name from that. But you got guys like Stanquan Clark coming back at linebacker, who's a really good player as well. So the defense is going to be a question mark for them going into next year. But with Miller Moss and with Isaac Brown in a not a very difficult Power 4 conference in the ACC, I think Louisville is absolutely still in the mix.
Another guy I'm very curious on the offensive side is Colin Lacey. Some injuries last year, didn't quite get to make the impact that he did at South Alabama before that, but I think Colin Lacey is somebody who could break out this time around as long as he's healthy.
Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.